Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. The street life used to be on. Straight up hustling till the break of dawn. Taught me how to do wrong right. Everything is tight.
Greetings and salutations all. It is the Teves and Kid Phoenix versus podcast. Kid Phoenix is here. Teves is here. Teves fresh off the heels of his appearance in the San Diego Union Tribune.
Okay. Can we just...
Listen.
Yes, I was in the paper.
You should be proud of that. You're in print media.
Yes. The burgeoning, newest, and most vibrant of medias.
So how you feeling? How you feeling this week?
Let me tell you, the life of a celebrity is rough. I don't know.
Well, I'm just gonna say I'm feeling quite super. I
see what you did there.
I've been bowled over from elation and happiness. That's it. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna lean too hard into that. He's already covering his face.
So the parade. Listen, don't get arrested. Don't get hurt.
I'm not.
Take it easy.
I'm not. I'm gonna have a nice, quiet. I'm gonna be sitting.
Don't destroy the city.
No, they're destroying the city is a young man's game. I can't do that anymore.
It is a young man's game.
Climbing poles and all that nonsense, that is a young man's game. I learned that the hard way last time there was an NFC championship win when I was on top of a garbage truck. I don't know how or why the hell that happened.
Stop it. You were not on top of a garbage truck.
I was. There's photographic evidence of this. Anyway, it is the Teves and Kid Phoenix versus podcast. This week, we are diving into a little website we like to call Rotten Tomatoes, or society likes to call Rotten Tomatoes, I should say.
Well, we don't like to call it, and society doesn't like to call it that either. The name of the website happens to be Rotten Tomatoes.
Listen, I'm just saying that's what it is. We didn't name it. We didn't
name it, but it's not like we decided one day to call this random website Rotten Tomatoes. Anyway, it's semantics. Let's move on.
Three kids from the University of Cal Berkeley developed that website back in 1998. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know, it is a review aggregate site. So there's Rotten Tomatoes, there's Metacritic, and I feel there's a third one, but I can't remember what the hell it is. But Rotten Tomatoes is the big one.
Rotten Tomatoes is the big one. Maybe did a lot to ruin movies. We'll see.
That was going to be my first question to you. Rotten Tomatoes, is there a net positive to its existence?
I think on the critic side, yes. I think the whole phenomenon of review bombing movies and things like that, terrible. And I think that studios lay way too much credence to Rotten Tomatoes.
I would agree with that. And I like Rotten Tomatoes for one simple thing. You kind of hit on it, the critic aspect. If I want to check out what critics are saying about a movie, I can go to that website and it's all critics from different phases of media. There's your print side, people from like Variety, whatever, and then there's your more, just social media blog specific personalities that are like top critics. Right. So it's just all right there, and it's great because you can see what movies are critically acclaimed as opposed to ones that, like you said, are just like review bombed.
Exactly.
When it comes to the popcorn-o-meter side of it, which is the popularity, just like your everyday Joe and Jane, I don't really pay too much credence to that, like you said.
I mean, there's something to be said for an audience, and there's something to be said for the feel of the general public, and marrying that with, the view of the critic. So I think that's pretty important. I think it's a good balance and it works well.
Here's our exercise this week. Basically, we went on Rotten Tomatoes and based on movies that we have enjoyed over the past 49 years for you, 44 years for me. And we just went and said, you know what? Let's look up some things that we like and may have been unfavorably reviewed or have low scores on Rotten Tomatoes, and just kind of check the tapes and, review
Maybe
the facts.
maybe
so to speak.
relitigate some of these.
Relitigate some of these. We are doing 2 movies each. We could do more. This could be a nice panel idea at San Diego Comic-Con, so get at us. Here were the rules that we decided for each other. Essentially, it's 2 percentage scores. You have your critic score and you have your popcorn scores, the tomato meter and the popcorn meter. Don't laugh at us. That's what they're called on the website. I don't know what to tell you. The rule is the movies that we choose have to be under 50% for both.
Yeah, they have to have received an F. A D is unacceptable. Or a D
Right.
is not bad enough for this particular
Yeah, 50%
exercise.
or worse was the exercise here. We each have 2, and who would like to go first? Should I go first here?
You should go first. This was your topic, so let's see what you got to say for yourself.
Okay. For my first movie, I am a big action guy. I am the action guy du jour on this podcast. I've seen a lot of good stuff. I've seen a lot of mid stuff. And yes, I've seen a lot of bad stuff. You know that I stand for the Fast and Furious franchise more than anybody that you know or care to admit that you know. There were some movies in the early mid-90s when I was growing up and just as a teenager and movie connoisseur, if you would, at such a young age, that I feel like should get a little bit of shine. And one of those action movies starred a very, let's just say that he was one of 2 African-American actors getting work in the 90s. And that man is Wesley Snipes. Wesley was getting a lot of work. Denzel was getting a lot of work. And that was kind of it. And we've litigated this on the podcast, too. And, like, if you want to check the tapes on that, feel free. Like, I'm pretty sure you won't find another African-American actor getting as much work as Denzel and Wesley. I could have gone a couple different ways here. I could have gone with The Fan. But I went with Passenger 57. Now, Passenger 57 came out after Die Hard 2. And real quick, just so I can confirm the scores of this movie, because again, it fits the criteria, 50% or lower for both popcorn and tomato. Passenger 57 got a rating of 30% on the tomato meter and 38% on the popcorn meter.
Okay, so why do you think that this show or this movie is worthy of relitigation?
So, 2 things. So, Passenger 57, again, came out after Die Hard 2, and it was kind of this, they're 2 of the same kind of movie. They both involve hijacking aircraft. Or in Die Hard 2's case, a whole airport, versus Passenger 57 was just an airplane. Smaller scale, so easier to budget for. I feel like it was rated unfairly. Is it the worst action movie of the 90s? No. Is it the best? Definitely not. But it's definitely enjoyable. It's one of those movies that fits with the great aspects of crisp. It's a clean, crisp 90 minutes of enjoyment. It doesn't think too highly of itself. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's Wesley and Tom Sizemore is in this, as well as Bruce Payne plays Charles Rain, which is just awesome. That's just amazing rhyme work by those guys. Kevin Hook's director. Bruce Greenwood is in this thing. Also, hot Elizabeth Hurley's in this movie. So there's a lot going for it.
As opposed to not hot Elizabeth Hurley.
I don't know what not hot Elizabeth Hurley is. I don't even know why I went with that. But I think Passenger 57 is a fun romp. Again, I don't think the plot is that complicated. Don't think the plot of the movie is basically hijacked terrorist takes over an Atlantic International airplane, and Wesley has to save everybody. and Wesley just plays this security not enforcer, but he's the head of security for Atlantic International. He's the head of security for the airline. And he's traveling to LA to get this new job, sign the paperwork, and this Charles Rain guy is trying to escape and just continue his reign of terror, as it were. I swear to God, that's something that's in the movie. Like, they say that in the script. The action scenes are good. The writing, the script, the dialogue, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Is it worthy of F grades on Rotten Tomatoes? I don't think so. I think that's a little harsh when there are far worse things than Passenger 57 that have gotten higher marks from Rotten Tomatoes.
Now, do you think this is one that you'll suggest to your screenplay teacher?
Okay. I knew that was coming. Maybe not, but there's some great quotes in Passenger 57. Always bet on black. That just sprung in the 90s, and that was a thing that carried for a couple years. And yeah, it's Wesley doing his thing. There's some comedic elements in there as well between him and one of the state cops from Louisiana, played by Ernie Lively. He plays Chief Biggs. He's the guy when the plane lands in Louisiana, Shorten Airfield. He's just like, no, I'm out here. I want to save all these hostages. And you're screwing up the works, because he just wants to take off and get out of here. But Wesley's like, no, he's not going to trade the hostages. He's just going to keep going. He's just going to keep going until they serve their purpose.
Truly a hero. Truly a heroic person.
Robert Hooks is in this movie, if you don't know who Robert Hooks is.
I don't know who Robert Hooks is.
Robert Hooks is an amazing African-American actor. You should know him from Star Trek 3.
What?
Robert Hooks, Star Trek 3. He plays
Did
Admiral.
He play Admiral? Yeah.
Admiral
yeah.
Morrow. He's Admiral Morrow in Star Trek 3.
Well, we all know that admirals in the Star Trek universe are all evil, every single one of them. So let's just move on.
When's the last time you saw Passenger 57? I feel like it's got to have been decades for you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it in the sense that you don't watch the same movies that I do.
I don't think I've ever seen Passenger 57, to be honest. I might check it out if there's a repertory of it at like Alamo Drafthouse or someplace like that. But
shout out Vidiot.
Or if it's at the New Beverly or at Vidiot's.
Shout out Vidiot. Vidiot, if you're listening, Vidiot, Passenger 57, Teves will drive up to Eagle Rock?
No, I won't. But if Adio is here, which we got to figure out, when are we going up to Eagle Rock to see when you come out here this year? But yes, if you go up.
That'll be something that we can watch before con, where we're just like sitting around the house.
Possibly. You might want to watch that movie before you get on an airplane, with air travel being what it is these days. Anyway, moving on.
Hold on. Just to go back to that particular point, Teves, you do realize that I'm that asshole that watches Die Hard 2 on the airplane.
What I'm saying is, you should be ready for all manner of air travel hijinks. Now,
why do you think I'm suggesting movies like Passenger 57 and Executive Decision and Air Force One? These are training videos for me.
Yeah.
All right, Tees, what do you got?
So, if you're the action guy, I am more of the science fiction guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like this choice bridges kind of the gap between action and science fiction. Also a sequel.
So that was a question I was going to have, but I forgot to ask. I try to avoid picking sequels because sequels, for the most part, are rated pretty low depending on the franchise.
Yes, but this one does fall within the criteria, and since I didn't get that particular memo, I'm going to go with it. And once you hear what movie it is, I think you'll be on board with the decision. It is a sci-fi movie. It does have some action elements. It's also got some things to say about politics. It is currently on Rotten Tomatoes with a tomato meter score of 28%. Jesus. And a popcorn meter score of 37%.
Jesus.
This movie stars Tom Noonan, Nancy Allen, and Peter Weller. This is RoboCop 2, of course. What I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Everybody put your seats on. Everybody put your seatbelts on for this discussion. I wanted to have the RoboCop 2 discussion with you for years.
Okay.
RoboCop 2, like Predator 2, is criminally underrated.
I certainly don't think it deserves a score of 28.
Absolutely
That's
not.
outrageous.
That
is outrageous.
Out of control. That is out of control.
This movie is eminently watchable. Is it as good as the original? No, it's not. But it does kind of take the ideas and run with them to like their most ridiculous conclusions. Like literal children.
Literal children as gang members. Are you kidding me?
Let's try to review. I'm going to try to see if I can review from memory.
All right.
The opening scene of RoboCop 2.
I can help you with this.
So RoboCop 2 opens with of course a news broadcast like the original Robo. Then we go to the streets of Detroit where we see an old lady pushing.
First of all, it's completely dystopian, futuristic. Crime is growing rampant. The cops are on strike. It is complete madness.
The old lady is pushing a cart full of cans. She's clearly poor, homeless. She's pushing cans across the street. Am I right or wrong? That's correct.
Minding her own business.
Then what happens? A car comes and hits her cart and sends the cans all over the place, right?
Doesn't hit the woman, hits the cart, and that's it.
Hits the cart, the cans go all over the place. She's trying to pick up the cans. A man comes, a younger man, middle-aged guy, helps her to pick up the cans, and like steals the cans from the old lady.
No, that's incorrect.
He steals her purse. He takes the old lady's purse.
Takes the old lady's purse
from the old lady. She's screaming. He pushes her to the ground. He's on the move. He runs into a couple of prostitutes who then who take him into an alley and stab him, take his money and the purse. Crime is out of control, folks. If you don't get what the scene is about, it's illustrating the degree to which crime is out of control. It's an incredible scene. It's an incredible sequence. You got to watch it.
That sucks you in right away. Like you're just like, what the hell's happened? What the hell's gonna happen? I'm pretty
sure that is what conservatives think it's like in the cities every day. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what they think will happen. They go to New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco and a place like that.
I was just gonna say they only think that's what happens in democratically led cities.
Right. Sorry. Only that's what they think happens in left-leaning cities. That's correct. So of course, RoboCop. And this, okay, listen, 28%, my ass. Listen, this movie has incredible things to say about the destructive power of corporate overreach, the destructive power of the combination of greedy corporations, corporate overreach, and ineffective local government.
Sound familiar?
There's some deep stuff here.
He's pounding the desk. Holy shit.
And like, look, maybe you had to get all the way to 2025 to realize it, but like, the idea of a corporation gutting a city just so that they can bulldoze it and build new shit, not so far-fetched in 2025. Okay?
And the idea that they have to fix this is to put the brain of a known drug-dealing sociopath into this incredibly technologically advanced robot. Just walking tank with a freaking Gatling gun on his arm. Like that was their solution to fighting crime.
Question.
We need bigger guns on the street.
So you may or may not know, but this movie has a famous scene where they keep trying to invent a new RoboCop. So they keep showing but they keep failing because the cops keep going nuts and blowing their brains. So in the first time, their first attempt to make a new RoboCop, the cop like comes out and then he takes the gun and he blows his own brains out. No, he shoots
He
two of
shoots
the workers
he shoots
and then
2 lab workers in the legs before blowing his
and then
brains out.
blows his
Yes.
own brains out. The second guy like just rips his own head off. In the original RoboCop, famously, when they debuted Ed 209, he pumped, I believe I counted it,
Of course you counted it.
167 rounds into some poor executive.
Times 2 because he had guns on each arm.
No, I counted both.
Oh, that's for both. Okay.
My question is, why do you keep giving the prototypes live ammunition? Why? Just no. Blanks are fine. We don't have to give these untested RoboCops and killer robots live rounds. Stop it, OCP.
This coming from the guy that advocates for Ed 209 on city streets.
Listen,
I just want to remind the people of this.
if I get gunned down by Ed 209, it's because I definitely did something wrong. Not
Okay.
because I'm black, not because I'm a minority. It's because I was in a parking space for 2 minutes too long. Then
Well,
I
look-
got gunned down. I did break the law. So
Well-
that's my fault. That's on me.
Well, listen. You don't be. Would you be surprised if like some intelligent, we'll just say racist, hacked into the Ed 209 servers and then programmed them that way before leaving the assembly line?
Listen, I don't want to subscribe to stereotypes here. I don't think there's a lot of overlap in the racism and programming fields, except with certain people that may or may not own social media companies.
So,
But I digress.
One thing about RoboCop 2. Here's my question. Who was more, not necessarily destructive, but I'll say menacing? Was Kane the main antagonist of the film, or the young kid? Because I could make a case that the kid is way more menacing.
Like menacing how? Like if I actually lived in that world, who would I rather have to deal with?
No,
Or as
'cause
a watcher of this movie?
I'm just saying, I'm just looking at the scene where they're in the first nuke lab, right?
Yeah.
He's standing there, he's looking innocent. RoboCop points the gun at him. He's like, "Oh wait, it's just freaking kid."
Mhm.
So he's just like, "All right, I'm just gonna point my gun away." The kid whips out a D-Eagle, for Christ's sake, number one, and proceeds to shoot him right between the eyes.
Here's the thing.
Those
though.
are the kinds of kids in this world.
Here's the thing, though. One of the problems is the drugs are portrayed as being bad just for drug's sake. And like nobody, okay, before RoboCop shows up, nobody to do with the drugs is violent. Like Kane is just minding his business, making his drugs. Everybody in the fucking organization is just making their drugs. They don't do anything. You don't see them do anything violent until RoboCop shows up and
That is a
starts
good
messing
point.
with their operation.
That is an
What
excellent
I'm
point.
not saying, look, I'm not saying that drugs are good. I'm just saying if the city is tearing itself apart, maybe focus on the people that are actively doing the tearing than the people that are like, this is a very tough argument to make, but like,
Hold on. I will point out that Hobbs, the little kid, when he is negotiating with the mayor of Detroit to fund the city.
We have to explain this subplot. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's not going to make any sense.
Okay.
The bottom line is Detroit is broke. It's going bankrupt. It needs money. And Hobb, who takes over the drug dealing operation, Hobb, who is a 13-year-old boy that's running the operation,
No older than 15.
agrees to give the city the money to make itself fiscally whole. So basically he's saying, look, leave us alone and we'll give you the money to keep the city going.
Not just that. Leave us alone. We'll give you the money and we'll make our drugs cheap and safe to use. I swear to God, that was his pitch.
He did say that.
That's
was
his pitch.
That was his pitch. Listen, this movie's dark, but that's a point of view. That is a fucking political point of view. This movie has things to say. Is it controversial? Yes. Is it thought provoking? Yes. Does it deserve a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes? Hell no. No effing way. No. This movie is too good. Look, I'm telling you, I believe like 75% of the people listening to this will now have to go and watch RoboCop 2 just because of the discussion that we've had about it and just how bonkers this movie is. not to mention phenomenal stop motion animation by Phil Tippett and his team
Incredible.
of the
Incredible
RoboCop
work.
2 robot. Just incredible work. Like one of the best single stop motion deals I have ever seen.
Can I just point out that the director of this movie was Irvin Kershner, and Star Wars fans know who the hell that is. At least they should. He directed Empire Strikes Back. He's directed a Bond film, I think it was.
Never Say Never Again. So the not Bond film.
And then he did RoboCop 2. After he did RoboCop 2, he was
He's
just
done.
like, he was just like,
done.
I'm good. I've done.
I've done it all. Boy, where do I go from here?
Where do
Nowhere.
I go from here? There's nowhere you can go from here. Wow, that incredibly spirited. I did appreciate. Like, yeah, if you've never seen RoboCop 2 before,
do yourself a favor, for God's sake,
man. Okay, I am also a bit of a science fiction guy, and I didn't know that So again, I wasn't gonna do sequels because of the simple fact that like most of them are like bad, but we didn't agree to this. Had we agreed to this earlier, we could have definitely gone off on. Actually, screw it. Let's just do it because Predator 2 fits that criteria too.
No, we've talked about Predator 2 at length.
Length.
Yeah.
That's one of them. And yes, RoboCop 2, Predator 2. See those movies. Those movies are fucking amazing. I need a bit of an executive decision here because I have two choices.
No, you can't. Executive decision has too many. Is rated too high.
No, that's not. No, I said I need to make I need help with an executive decision.
Okay.
So the movie that I would like to do next is 34% on the tomato meter, but 47% on the popcorn meter. Is 47% too close to 50?
It's failing. It's absolutely failing. You can go. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I think we should have decided to figure out to do the average of the two and then figure out what that number should have been. But next time we do this, because I feel like this is an exercise that we can milk for a little while. I was shocked by this because I thought it was rated better and enjoyed. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, directed by Roland Emmerich. Freaking Universal Soldiers made this list. I mean, it's all right.
Is it a great science fiction action movie? It's not like The Matrix or anything like that, but again, 91, 92, and this is before Emmerich did Independence Day. This is early Emmerich.
Right. But
this was Universal Soldier was, I think it was, I don't want to call it his first big break, depending on how you feel about Moon 44. I don't know if you've ever seen that. But there was Universal Soldier, and then he did Stargate, and then he did Independence Day. He had to cut his teeth somehow, and I don't think Universal Soldier is that bad.
I don't think Universal Soldier is bad. It's a popcorn movie.
Right.
It doesn't have as much to say as, say, RoboCop 2.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, come on. Like, this.
It does have something.
Not much is going to do that.
It does have something to say about humanity and like what it means to be human and like things like that, like dealing with some science fiction. What did you say it's rated?
34 on the tomato meter, 47 on the popcorn meter.
Yeah, I think the action scenes alone make it better than that.
The action scenes in Universal Soldier for the time in 92, probably some of the better stuff you're going to get. I think I have a theory about Universal Soldier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Terminator 2 was the year before, 91, right?
Right.
So maybe there was like, okay, Emmerich had this idea with cybernetic organisms akin to Terminator 2, but just a different kind of story. I want to say that's kind of what he was going for, and to that extent, he succeeds. The plot is a little bit... how far-fetched is the plot, right? Like Vietnam veterans frozen in ice, somehow that works, whatever. Like it's Hollywood. You have to suspend imagination a little bit. You got to be creative. They wake up in the early 90s and they're basically like merc soldiers
Right.
for a division of the US government that isn't necessarily sponsored by the government, but the government lets them do their work anyway. It's
So they're a PMC.
PMC, correct. And what I liked about Universal Soldier, yes, the action scenes in this movie are, I don't want to say they're not Terminator 2 level. Let's just say that right off the bat. Same production company, Carolco Pictures, same production company, directed by Roland Emmerich, of course. But the shootout at the motel, great action scenes. The introduction of the Unisols at the dam, also great action scene. And then in between that, you kind of get the duality of Jean-Claude Van Damme's character. He just wants to get home. He wants to return home from the war, basically. But Dolph Lundgren's character is just like, oh, it's still the Vietnam War. I still got all these fucking traitors that I have to like execute. It's the final battle scene to round it all out. Fantastic action martial arts scenes in the end of that movie. Again, is it like you said, it's a popcorn movie. They did a lot of that in the 90s.
It's popcorn. As far as, I mean, it's not, listen, it's not a great movie, but it's definitely should be rated better than 31. It should definitely at least get a passing grade. It should be in the 60s at least.
At least.
What
are some other things that came out in 90? Well, I can't really say Batman Returns because that's ridiculous.
92.
Yeah, that's I'm not going to compare that to Batman Returns. That's ridiculous. Few Good Men, Bram Stoker's Dracula, also 92. It's an interesting year for film. I mean, you have Patriot Games. Like Patriot Games is, breaking records. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Like Unforgiven, Sneakers, Past 7 was also 92, but whatever.
Wow, I wonder if Sneakers made it onto this list.
I can check the tomato score right now if you really want me to.
No, that's fine. I don't need to get sucked down a wormhole. We got other movies to cover. Like, I'm going to bring it home with my final selection.
Okay.
This movie was released in 1985. And
Jesus.
I do like horror movies. This is more of a horror comedy.
Oh, you're not going to say Halloween 3, are you?
No, I am not going to say Halloween 3. This movie currently has a tomato score of 20% and a popcorn score of 41%.
I feel like I'm going to get really angry at this.
This movie...
If you say Candyman, I swear to God,
it is not Candyman.
We're going to Hollywood and we're beating the shit out of people.
It is a horror comedy. This movie stars Gina Davis, Jeffrey Jones, Carol Kane, Ed Begley Jr., and Jeff Goldblum. Of course, I'm talking about Transylvania 65000. Now, this movie, I think...
You're going to have to explain to the people what this movie is.
Basically, this is a horror comedy where Jeff Goldblum and Ed Begley Jr. play reporters who are investigating a videotape that seems to have come from Transylvania that shows a Frankenstein's monster-like creature running amok. They go there to investigate the story because they work for a sensational tabloid newspaper.
Oh, like the Inquirer.
Yes, when they arrive, they find that Transylvania is in the process of trying to change its image and trying to shed all of that monstrous vampire stuff that it has become famous for.
Wow. I'm in. I want to watch this now.
And Goldblum and Begley Jr. get into various hijinks while examining and finding all these creatures and, Universal style monsters. Now,
So I'm looking at some of the screens for this movie, and
yes, I will say that this movie features a young Michael Richards,
yes.
Kramer from Seinfeld. It features Carol Kane at the peak of her powers. And it features, of course, the immortal Norman Fell.
Norman Fell is in this?
Yes.
I'm in. Where is this on Pluto? What is
It's got to be somewhere. Also, now let me just tell you something. As a man who grew up in the 80s, there are some images that are indelibly marked in my brain as kind of touchstones for things that helped Teebs on his journey to manhood.
Mm-hmm.
Phoebe Cates coming out of the pool, Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places.
Just Jamie Lee Curtis, period.
Gina Davis in this movie, chef's kiss. Phenomenal work. I think that probably her being in this movie might be the reason for the strange relationship with goth women and goth girls that I have today. I'm not going to get into that too much on the podcast, but listen.
So I'm looking
just watch the movie and you'll know it and you'll find out what I'm talking about. This movie is okay.
I'm looking at a photo, real quick. I'm looking at a photo of Gina Davis in this movie.
Yeah.
And she's kind of dressed like Dr. Frankenfurter.
Don't give it away. Make people do their own research. Do your own research, people.
I'm looking at some of the screenshots for this movie. It looks very... Number one, it looks very Rocky Horror, number one.
It's
number
not
two,
quite Rocky Horror. It was not...
It has that kind of look.
It does have that kind of look. It also, the humor is a little bit on the slapstick side, a little bit on the slapstick side. This is Jeff Goldblum doing his best Bill Murray. It kind of really works for me. It really works for me. I don't know.
Why am I also getting Ed Wood vibes from this movie?
I think it's just all the monster movie tropes and dressing that's going on in there. But like in today's day and age where we have things like What We Do in the Shadows being really popular, I think people should definitely give Transylvania 65000 a rewatch. Is it good? No, it's not good, but it's definitely 20% is outrageous.
Maybe that's just, I don't know what it could be. You're talking about a movie that came out at least a decade before Rotten Tomatoes was even formed.
It's got good production value. Bagley and Goldblum are funny together. Again, Jeff Goldblum does the best non-Bill Murray. And it's like him, the dude from Moving Violations, and like early Jeff Guttenberg from Police Academy are doing the best non-Bill Murrays.
Is it Jeff Guttenberg or Steve Guttenberg?
Steve Guttenberg, sorry. But I think the dude from Moving Violations is actually Bill Murray's brother.
So, John Murray?
I think yes, John Murray. There's a Neil Israel movie. Wow.
Yeah, the Neil Israel who we love so much and would just love to have on the podcast.
Neil Israel, I don't know if he's still alive, but Neil Israel is he's part of the whole Abram Zucker situation. Like he helped write. I think he helped write Airplane, and he's in that world.
Police Academy, Bachelor Party, Real Genius.
Oh, he directed Bachelor Party. That's what it is.
He wrote and directed Bachelor Party.
Right.
And then he's got some TV, and he's got some TV credits as well. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna figure out where the hell Transylvania,
you know what else he did?
5,000.
Hold on a second. This guy might go on our Mount Rushmore.
I know he did Surf Ninjas.
Surf Ninjas, Bachelor Party, Breaking the Rule. Okay, this guy, epic.
And Neil Israel still alive. So we need to get let's get him on the podcast. We need to get Neil Israel on the podcast.
He was currently 79. He may not know what a podcast is, but if we can find him, we'll get him on here.
We can explain to him what a podcast is.
But yeah, Transylvania 65000. If you haven't seen it, it's funny. It's funny. It's not for everyone. It's funny. If you like horror movies, especially like old 60s style horror movies and old 40s style horror movies.
Oh, it
I
has that
think you're
feel
gonna
for
like
sure.
if you like the comedy stylings of that particular era, Saturday Night Live, like big Saturday Night Live movies like Modern Problems or like
What's that? What's that?
Fletch or like Ghostbusters. I'm not saying this movie's on the same level as Ghostbusters, but it's that kind of ensemble comedic situation.
It's like
Give this a try.
1941 movies like that.
1941, but 1941's trying to be a little bit too serious. The Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
What else feels like this that's from around this time? That's all I can think of. But like, think of like like ensemble comedic movies of the 80s. And then like anything with like Clue, like a lot of Clue vibes.
Yeah, that's the other movie that I was picking up on that. We could do 3 and 3. Like I said, we'll do more of these. Like
we'll do more of these. I am just curious about one thing.
I already have. I had a third ready to go just in case you decreed that Universal Soldier was too close to 50%. What did you find?
Right.
You want to just do a third?
No, we can't. We can't. But I understand why Bachelor Party is only at 54, 56.
It just passed.
We have to talk about this genre. I know we don't want to, but we kind of have to talk about this whole 80s raunchy male, like that whole movie genre, like Porky's Bachelor Party, Last American Virgin,
Revenge of the Nerds is on there.
Oh my God, Revenge of the...
Yeah, we need to get it. We gotta get into
Nerds. We gotta get into this.
Maybe we should let's just hold that and let's table it until like next week, I guess.
Yeah, we'll table it. Well, not next week, but we have to talk about it at some point because I have feelings and I have to express them and I need to.
Well, keep an ear out for that on the socials and keep up with us on our socials. You can follow us. Links are in the description. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We are on X. We are on Blue Sky. Download the podcast where you download podcasts. Full video episodes on the YouTube streams that people seem to love, and we appreciate the listenership and the follows on YouTube.
Quick note: Transylvania 65000 is on Tubi. I will be watching it immediately following this recording.
Oh, I'm totally doing that. I'm totally doing that right now. I'm cute. Tubi, you said, right?
Tubi.
Okay, so shout out Tubi, shout out Pluto TV.
Thank you, Tubi. Thank you, Pluto TV, for all the work with the terrible movies. I appreciate it.
Until next week, we are gonna get out of here. That's it. That's the podcast. We're gonna get out of here. Until next week, Teves and Kid Phoenix rolls on. We're out of here.